We're going to start today with the basic animation, timing and spacing, principles of animation in, slow out, aka today ease in, ease out. So we're going to look at the dope sheet and the graph editor. And this file will be available for download. It's set up this way where you can't see any of the extras, and that's simply by going through the overlay, and I unchecked extras right here. I also made sure that you can't possibly select anything other than the Campbell soup, and everything is resetted. So if I go here, press the sidebar, let me turn on screencast. Okay, so for the sidebar right here, if I go to item, it's zeroed out. So that means I went to object, apply, and all transform for the Campbell soup. So it's like its starting world is here. Okay, so I'm in the animation tab. So if you guys are following along, we have layout right here that you can also work in, because layout comes with the timeline right here, so it's great for animation. You can also click on, and I added external data automatically pack resources, so you will get the texture for this and the background. Okay, if we go to modeling, you'll go to edit mode. Okay, so these are just kind of like simple things that beginner Blender animators, they kind of get overwhelmed with all the changes, because when they jump from a different tab, all these things kind of change. Bear in mind, you need to understand that you need to your preview right here, your viewport preview is important. Okay, that you keep up with what you're seeing. So if you jump to another one, then that will change, so on and so forth. All right, so that's just kind of to prepare you for this one. I'm going to be working exclusively in the animation tab. I also added a right viewport so that you could see what's happening here, that this is the right side, and you're not going to see any movement if we're just translating X and Y. I need to be in object mode to do this. If you can see this wireframe, because I turn it on in the overlay. So if you're running out of real estate like this, you simply scroll your mouse and they're hidden right there. Okay, all the other viewports and options. So in overlay, I just add a check mark wireframe so you could see it, and here we could see where the floor is, so on and so forth. Okay, so first principle of animation is squash and stretch, all that stuff. So we're going to skip all that. We're just going to go with our timing first. We have in the principles of animation is timing. That's basically your extremes or your major keyframe, and then whatever gets created in between is your in between, right? So in betweening or spacing. Okay, so spacing is what gives it the slow and fast motion, where we pack in frames and then we kind of change the density of the frames. We spread them out. Okay, when you spread them out, it's fast. When you pack them in, it's slow. Okay, so let's start with our timeline first. So you're looking at the dope sheets. There's nothing in here. I'm going to make sure my object is selected. Okay, right there, it's selected. Okay, and to kind of show you that it's selected, I'm going to press G here to move. Right click to cancel. Okay, so all right, we're also going to turn on our side right here, our sidebar. I'm going to go to item. Okay, because there's plenty of ways to animate in Blender. Let's do the very slow traditional way here so that you understand what's happening. Okay, I'm also going to turn on the tools right here in the camera. I'm going to be using the tool so you could actually see it. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my overlay here. Let's see, what did I put? Okay, that one is in there, axes. All right, so there we go. Okay, I turned that off by accident, so you got to click on Gizmo. All right, so you'll be seeing which arrow I'll be grabbing. Okay, so let's start with our kind of like the fourth step in animation. Okay, usually it's just 3 steps after the first one. So the first step is to make sure that the object that you want to animate is selected. I made sure here you can't select anything other than the Campbell soup, but still, you got to make sure it's selected, because if you just select dead space, then it's not selected. It's not, it's not going to be shown in there as your animated one, right? And don't get confused by the lines. Again, I just turned those on so you could see that this is our active object. But when it's really active, it'll have this orange kind of Jedi line to it, Okay, so here we go. I'll be grabbing the x-axis, right? So first is make sure your object's selected, okay? Second is position your playhead or your time where you want that keyframe to be, or that extreme to be, okay? And then next is transform. So you transform by moving the object where you want it to be. And then last is to keyframe. So there's several ways to keyframe in Blender. You could actually click on this guy here, which is automatic keyframe. So whenever you do those 3 steps, the next one is, the fourth one is automatically done for you. But this one, we're going to show it how that's done. So again, N for sidebar, and there it is, your X location. So if you actually add value here, it's the same thing as me grabbing this X right here, the Y, which is in and out, and then Z up and down. Okay, so if we go and want to keyframe this position on 1, all you have to do is right click here and then insert single keyframe. This is what we'll be using for this exercise, so it's a lot clearer what's happening. Okay, so we just want to get our timing first. Our timing would be 30 frames. Okay, so we're gonna go, by default Blender operates in 24 frames per second. Okay, we will use that one. Okay, frame rate 24 frames per second, and we're going to be animating here in 30 frames. So I will make that one. Our timeline right now, it's a 1 to 250, so that's 10 seconds and 10 frames extra. For PAL, that's 10 seconds, 240 for our area. Okay, so I'm going to put 30 in there. So when you do that, it highlights 30 right here. So I'm going to middle click, drag this, and then zoom with my mouse to zoom in. So this way we're looking at our dope sheets or our timeline in a maximum setting, right? So we don't have to look at the other one. Plus, when you do that, when you click play, which is space bar, it just kind of loops 1 through 30 instead of going all the way to 250. Okay, so let's get our timing. Okay, so we want this Campbell soup to go from left to right, 1 through 24. Okay, and then of course 26 to 30 would be kind of like a dead space, enough time for us to realize it's looping. Okay, so first step, select the object. There it is, selected. Next, position your time. Okay, it's already positioned on 1. That's where we want our first keyframe. Okay, next is we want our transform. So where do you want this thing to be positioned at? Okay, you can do rotation or scale, or if you're using armature, you do what you need to do. All right, so for this one, we just want it, and I'm moving it here in frame on the camera. You could do it, or you could do it here, or you could also do it here in your working camera. So I'm going to position that here so that it's it's within the safe area of our camera. So that's where I want it to be. And I move it on the x-axis, which is the red one. Or you can go like so. Okay? We can go very precise here, so I can just go -9, press enter, and then there it is. So the fourth step is to keyframe it. So to keyframe it, go to the axis that you manipulated it on, right click, and then click on insert single keyframe. What it does then, it adds a keyframe or your first extreme. Okay? So next step is to do the 4 steps again. Select the object you want to select. It's still selected. Next, change your time. So we want that on frame 24. Okay? Third step, transform your object. So we want this guy to be on this side right here, kind of eyeballing that. So that would be -9. So we'll go +9. Okay? Fourth step, keyframe your animation. So right click here, insert single keyframe. Okay, so if I just tap the spacebar right now, there it is. So by default, Blender or any 3D program would have a default kind of handle type on those keyframes. So for this one, it has the slow in and slow out. So what it is that if we look at our function curve, that's where you see it, okay? Our spacing, it automatically applies a slow beginning, okay? If I scrub this, it starts up really slow. So you can see here, we're on frame 3, it's barely moving. Frame 4, barely moving. Then 5, 6, 7, and now it starts picking up, okay? It's a lot faster here than when we were in frame 1, 2. Okay, now when we reach the end, okay, it starts to slow down. So around frame 20, this thing starts to slow down. So you can see 24, 23, and 24, there's hardly any movement in there, just slight, very similar to this one. So it applied a slow, okay, slow, fast, and then slow. So that's the spacing automatically done. If you're doing 2D animation, you would be drawing the Campbell soup a lot closer here, and then here, spread out, and then a lot closer in here as well. So the spacing is, since that's the principle of animation, automatically applied. Sometimes we don't want that, right? You don't want slow in, slow out. Let's say this thing is traveling on a conveyor belt right here. So you want this being transformed by a machine, which is the belt, and you probably want that as a constant speed. So as an animator, this will be a pretty bad animation for that because, you know, it has variable speed, okay? So we don't want any variable speed. We want to change it to constant. So that's what we're going to do with the next one. But let's take a look first what slow in and slow out does, okay? Or ease in, ease out, or slow, fast, fast, slow, spacing, okay? So spacing is what happens in between, okay? So let's change Dope Sheet right here and change it to Graph Editor. So I'm going to click this icon here in the top left corner of the timeline, okay? Right there, and then I'm going to click on Graph Editor. So we look at Graph Editor. With the object still selected, if we zoom out right here, you would see we have 2 keyframes, like so, okay? And then they have this Bezier handle. This is how you change the spacing, okay? So if you're not familiar with the graph editor yet in function curves, whenever you see this kind of S curve right here, this is a slow, okay? This one's a little bit more constant right here, but there's definitely speed right here, okay? So we want to change the behavior of this one. We change this handle type, okay? So nothing is happening before 1 and nothing's happening after 24. So if I grab that though, that handle, and press G to move it, it affects the, do you see it? It affects the curve on the other side. Same thing here. If I select the keyframe first, select the handle, press G for grab, okay? And then it can affect the animation right here. So if you don't want that, you just want to contain it here, there's a way to change the function curve or the handle type, right? You select the keys that you want to change, and then you press V as in victory, and you can change the handle type. So if I click free right here, you don't see any changes, but it breaks it, okay? So now these handles are individual. So as you can see, if I hit grab right here, it no longer creates a seesaw effect. It's like, it's broken, you know, this is contained by itself, okay? So either way, even if we didn't break it, even if it was the default one, it would still work because we're not animating anything on 0 before 0 and after 24. So that would be fine, right? So, but to kind of show you here what this does, if I select both, okay, and I want to change it to constant speed, I don't want this S curve right here, I press V, and I just simply select vector. So you can see it now, it's a straight kind of slanted line, okay, and then let's play our animation. So you can see it loses that ease in, ease out, it's constant speed, okay? So what you do with this function curve really affects the spacing, okay? In 3D, this is what we do, okay? You can also do frame by frame or step up animation like Pixar style. In 2D, it's what you draw, it's what, you know, creates the spacing. But in 3D animation, the spacing can occur, again, like I said, frame by frame if you want to, but with dealing with function curves. So let's change this again, press V. Change it the way it was, automatic. It gives us that S curve. So this is a slow movement. So you can see 1, 2, 3, it's barely moving. But if I grab this, okay, keyframe, and I grab the handle right here, never mind this one right here because there's nothing in there. I'm going to press G. I'm going to reverse this look. Okay, instead of slow, I'm going to reverse it like that. This is now fast. I'm going to make my handle vertical. Okay, you notice now frame 5, it's already halfway. Okay, back when it was slow, frame 5 is still over there. See the difference now? How you change that by manipulating the function curve. So I'm going to go like this. So now this has like a fast start right away. There you go. So fast, it moves in super fast, okay? And then it slows down right here. What if we did the same thing here? All right, so we're gonna go fast and fast on both, okay? So basically, as you can see right there, frame 22, it slowed down right here, okay? Frame 22, remember back when it was slow, frame 22, it's almost at the end. But here, frame 22, it's still kind of halfway in here. So what's happening, it's fast at the beginning, fast at the end, slow in the middle. So basically we reverse it where it used to be slow, fast, and then slow here. So let's play our animation. There you go. So it jumps really fast. Then it slows in the middle, and then it drags itself over there. So if you want to kind of match those fast setting right there, you can. You know, you can match your handle so that it goes right there. Or I can put this back. Okay, you want to make sure it's horizontal. You don't want to go above because it'll add extra stuff on its animation. So this one is fast and it slows down when it ends. Okay, and then I can reverse that. I can make it fast at the end and then slow it down at the beginning. And again, you don't want to dip it like this. You just want it horizontal. Okay, so it's slow at the beginning and fast at the end. Or you can select both keyframes, press V as in victory, and then vector, it gives you constant speed. All right, and that's the end of this lesson. We'll keep adding more of the principles of animation.